Hi, my name is Luke Ashton, and I'm HData's regulatory economist. I wanted to spend some time with you today to dive into an article I have written earlier this year entitled Nine Powerful Electric Utility KPIs to Benchmark Your Performance. The reason I selected this article is I want to try to relate it back to some modern events and dive into how understanding the finances of an electric utility can actually be derived from various FERC forms. So what we've built at HData is called our HData Hub, and we've built this on top of this new XBRL data that the FERC has created for the FERC forms 1 and 13Q. So from that, you can actually build KPIs within our system, and then have those automatically populate and update as new data ingests. So it's actually very, very easy to then compare those KPIs across different utilities in the United States. So let's go ahead and dive into this article here. So for those who may not know or unfamiliar with KPIs, a KPI is a key performance indicator. So this is a metric that either show success or failure towards a goal or a result. So they're very, very important in understanding how efficiently or how well am I operating as an electric utility. So I want to dive into some of those KPIs that I've put within here. So the first one is rate base. Rate base is a pretty important metric, especially if you, as a member of utility, engage in rate cases, because this is determining how much value your company has that a regulator will then say how much you can earn from that rate base. So if you don't work at a utility, this can be most easily understood as the base metric to get things going in determining how much you and I end up actually paying on our electric bill. So I actually have an embedded visualization here comparing how different companies stack up on rate base. And this is pulled from our data hub. So you can actually stack, hey, how is Virginia Electric and Power comparing to Pacific Gas and Electric, or even Oklahoma Gas and Electric Company? And you can easily benchmark a single company against a series of other companies. What is traditionally more popular amongst KPIs in electric utility is non-fuel O&M. So O&M is the operation and maintenance costs of a utility, but we actually subtract out fuel costs. And the reason that is because fuel can drastically change from year to year. And if you're living in 2022 as I record this, you'll know that there is a conflict going on in Ukraine and inflation, and those are actually driving up prices for a lot of different aspects of fuel. Like I live in Arlington, Virginia, and we're almost at $5 a gallon for gas. And utilities will also see that impact in different ways. So the reason they subtract out non-fuel costs is those can fluctuate wildly from year to year. So it's actually very difficult to determine, is that spike in O&M because of fuel costs, or is it because of something that I can actually control, like our transmission infrastructure being updated, or are we having to do an update on a steam plant? So that's why fuel is subtracted out from that cost. But you can actually slice and dice it in a few different ways. If you want to look at it on a per megawatt hour sold, so how much am I spending on O&M for every megawatt hour I sell to the wholesale market or residential or commercial customers, you can understand it in that way. Or if you want to understand it on a non-fuel O&M per dollar revenue basis. So for every dollar that I receive as a utility, what portion of that dollar is going to O&M expense? Is it 30 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents? If it's getting to 50 or 60 cents, that's actually pretty high. If you're over a dollar, then you're actually losing money. Another KPI that we can talk about is administrative and general expenses. So these are the expenses that go into plant operation, but not under operation and maintenance. This can include the paper for printers. This can include employee benefits and salaries, or even the birthday cake in the office kitchen. So it can be understood in a very similar way as non-fuel O&M. We can talk about A&G per dollar revenue, and we can visualize it in a very similar manner. So of course, PG&E, they're probably hiring a bunch of new people to help build up their transmission infrastructure after experiencing some wildfires in 2018 and 19. So that's why on non-fuel O&M and A&G, you'll actually see that number rise for a company like PG&E. But of course, you can always compare it, say remove PG&E from that view, and actually compare it and normalize that data. So that's what you can do within our embedded visualizations within the data hub, and that's what I've been able to show you here. And lastly, transmission line maintenance per mile. This is very, very important, especially if you're a utility that actually doesn't do the generation side of things. You may be a transmission specific company, but you still need to understand O&M in some shape or form. And you can understand that by how much are we spending on maintaining those lines for every mile that we're laying out or responsible for. So all these items can be pulled from the FERC Form 1, which we've been able to build all these tools that I've shown you as embedded visualizations, but we can build that through our data hub on top of all this XBRL data that is coming from the FERC Forms 1 and 1.3Q.